Did you know that at the end of Collision, that the two people that would be most discussed from this episode of Collision would be Nixon Newell, who ended up getting nixed from this show, and Miranda Alize?
No idea. No.
No?
I thought it could be John Moxley, Roderick Strong,
Ace Austin.
Kyle Fletcher.
There was some great wrestling on that particular show.
It was a good one. Yeah.
Great crowd in Houston.
But an even better backstage atmosphere.
Yes, because I'm going to call this story the 3-minute warning, because that is what Nixon Newell and Miranda Alize were facing. Did someone say 3 minutes? So Miranda Alize and Nixon Newell were set to wrestle Ty Mello and Anna Jay on this show. And then reports came out almost immediately, late Saturday. Of course, they did not end up wrestling on this show. Instead, Hyan and Maya World stepped in for them, and they ended up losing to Mello and Anna Jay in a match that went under 2 minutes. And the stories came out. Initially, there had been a report that they did not want to lose. It was since clarified. It seemed that the sticking point was not so much winning or losing. It was the length of the match that seemed to be the issue, that this was going to be 3 minutes, which, if you include entrances, is pretty much the total time that this tag match ended up being on the show on Saturday. The match time was even less than 2 minutes. And so that was it. And it sounded as though that was the issue, that they were not going to do the match, and they left afterward. And let's hear from Alize and Nixon Newell, because they did a Twitch stream, and I can't tell you how fun it is that I had to sit through as these two are trying to figure out this video game while they are making their explanation for Saturday night. But it was quite the experience. But here is a snippet of the two of them discussing from their perspective what went down on Saturday and why you did not see them on Collision.
It wasn't a fuck you, we're leaving at all. Except we called our producer over, we said everything, and we spoke to a lot of people about this, and they were all in agreement of like, hey, 3 minutes is not going to do good for anyone. A lot of people were in agreement with us. So the producer said, okay, no worries, like, we'll go
relay this information to who it needs to be relayed to.
So they went, relayed to...
And then they did that, and then they told us that we were free to go home. So we went home.
It was never a bad thing on anyone's part. We spoke to all parties involved. We all agreed. It's just the dirt sheets, specific dirt sheets, and I know the ones that they somehow twist any positive thing.
Dirt sheets have no fucking life. That's what it comes down to. Nobody knows what happened but us and the people that we spoke to, and that's it.
And they, like I said, there was no bad blood between anyone. It was all done respectfully. There's a lot more to it, but honestly, we don't feel like we have to do anything. But it is what it is, you know what I mean?
It is what it is. There's nothing to it, but there's a lot more to it. That's what I took to it. Now, wait, this was what it was. Like, it was no big deal that at 7:57 p.m., 3 minutes before Collision went on the air, Miranda Alize on X, we have so much to say. Little vague, but it was less vague by all the retweets she proceeded of people that were like bashing their booking, and Miranda Alize retweeting some of these comments as well about them, and I guess how they had been utilized. So if anyone kind of brought the flames here to get things started, it was Miranda Alize here, who I think caught everyone's attention by this. And this is just a positive experience that went down on Saturday. We were scheduled for a match that we didn't end up doing, and these dirt sheets that pretty much reported exactly what happened on Saturday, and they backed it up in this Twitch stream. So these damn dirt sheets, like, this was just a nice interaction among two teams and a producer who just decided that before this live taping, we're not going to wrestle. What's the big deal?
Sure.
Why are we even talking about this?
Yeah. I would say like this feels like this is this week's oh man, you name it. What's her name? Like the Sarah Stock. It feels like it's this like the talk of the week that is getting way more attention than I think it needs to. It's only been 2 days and I'm already so sick of this story. But at the same time, I understand. I think the curiosity behind it, and I understand maybe even the outrage that some people might feel for something like this. I wish it wasn't getting this much conversation, but this is really, I think, a major example of people who might probably deserves to be called out to some extent, for I think the way that how unaware or how unself-aware they seem to be about this entire situation. Like, it's to the point where I wonder if they're even trolling with how self-unaware they are about all this. First of all,
you literally had people like Taya Valkyrie tweeting about this. Like, clearly there was at least people that were rubbed the wrong way by this. And I'm certain that this was not just a case of AEW saying, this is a terrible match that we booked. You guys want to just leave? I'll tell you, they stated that this 3-minute match, it benefited no one. I'll tell you who I think it benefited was Hyan and Maya World, who I think are going to get major props for just filling in here at the last minute. And it would not surprise me that when there's a non-Texas based AEW show, they may bring them to another AEW show down the road. And maybe this is like an in for them. I could imagine that they definitely benefited from this on
They're benefiting
Saturday.
from the story for sure. Like, if this was not a story, I mean, I'm sure, yes, they would have still benefited as well, but now they really benefit from it. Yes, I don't disagree. Maybe we should just talk about just the idea of talent not happy with their allotted whatever they're booking, refusing to go through with the match. What do you think about that?
I think in any case that I will always talk about, like, what leverage you have. I typically advocate for talent. Use your leverage. This is an industry where you very rarely get an opportunity to use it. But that said, I wasn't looking at this match as being one that...
What leverage did they have?
They had no leverage in this. I would venture to guess we will probably not see these two back in AEW.
I have to also imagine they made that decision knowing that was going to be the repercussion. I mean, Nixon Newell has said that this was going to be her last 2 years and she's got 1 year into this.
She's got 1 year left.
She's got 1 year left, so I don't think she was intending on any long stay. I don't know about Miranda Alize, but I mean, I don't believe this. Like, I have to think they probably knew that they weren't going to come back to AEW.
These are not
right?
rookies, okay? These people know what the score is. It's like, Nixon Newell was let go by WWE. She's not going back there. And you do something like this, I'd be stunned if they're back in AEW. And I think they know exactly what they're doing. And I don't think it's pretty much any... I don't think it's them just being naive to the situation. I think that they're fine with that.
Probably, yeah. But yes, just going back to the topic. Like,
I mean, generally, I think you certainly, like, look, AEW, like, we've heard many stories. Like, this can be a very last minute thrown together shows that you can sometimes get. I would imagine they did not know days out, like, what the scenario was going to be, or that this would be so short of a match. Not ideal. And, they lost to Megan Bain and Marina Shafir last week, and they were there largely to just put them over, and they were going to be in a similar situation here.
And this comes after a lot of rumor and innuendo about how that match went, and Megan Bain maybe not being too happy about that double German suplex spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch it, I mean, she's struggling to get them up. For her part, Nixon Newell has denied there was no issue surrounding that. But again, like, you're listening to Nixon Newell and Miranda Alize convey what they experienced firsthand, and I have no doubt that their interactions with everyone may have come across as everything was fine to them, and that might not have been the reality when they were no longer there at the building. So I think that this is like this is a fairly easy story to see. But again, just getting back to your question, like, right before a broadcast and you don't want to lose on a show. I mean,
not lose on a show.
Not the loss. Yeah. It's the length of it. Like what would have been the length? Were they looking for a 10, 15 minute match here? Like at the end of the day, like did these four need to have a 10 to 15 minute match? No, they did not.
No, of course not.
Is this match for the performers or is this match for your audience, for your consumers? And you're on a show that's got 6 matches and 3 minutes. It's not ideal, but it's also not the kiss of death either. Listen, I don't think this is any skin off their back that they are looking at, AEW is not a fit for us. They probably won't be back to AEW. And I think they knew that when you're not making a play like this when you're expecting a callback to be back at TV next week.
Yeah. I guess I'm curious about like what their expectations were heading into just even that AEW match last week. Were they told something, like were they promised something bigger than just what seems to be an enhancement talent role?
And that's a fair question. Like maybe especially on account of Nixon Newell, like here is someone with a WWE background. Like what was she sold on when she was brought in? Like was she recruited? Where they say, hey, we want to build this tag division and we want you and Miranda to be a big part of this division. And then they come here and they're losing to Megan Bain and Marina Shafir quickly. And if that's the case, they have every right to, like they haven't signed anything. They have the opportunity to leave. And it seems like that's probably the end result here.
Right. Okay. So I think this is only like I've seen very little defense of these two online, but I just think like it is a part of the whole conversation we have about this, like workers having some level of protection of their own booking. This is more of a topic of the past and not so much about the present. But this is just like an interesting scenario where at least the performers feel like they're exercising that right to protect whatever bargaining power that they have. And this is not even so much about like getting a job in AEW, but maybe protecting their perception as a formidable tag team on a national scale, perhaps. That sounds ridiculous to me, like just based off of like a little collision match. But I'm just suggesting maybe that's what they're thinking.
I mean, just seeing the fact that Miranda Alize was retweeting all of these complaints about how they were used on TV. Yeah. I mean, that tells me that like sometimes you can be in this online bubble where it's looked upon like, man, this was this great offense to this team that they blew it with last week. And you're listening to those voices that in the grand scheme of things, like, listen, had they lost to Ty Mello and Anna Jay in 7 minutes, is the world that much of a different place in AEW in terms of where they're slotted if they had lost in 7 minutes as opposed to 3? Like, what are we talking about here? I mean, they're not coming in with a push off right out of the bat. But if they came in, I would say like this is a company that typically you work from your position and, you can move up the ladder. And it does seem like they are really getting behind this tag division, that they could have been something in there. But they were not going to be a major act for them, at least not right away. They were going to have to, probably eat a bunch of losses and hopefully something would click and they would slowly get over. But maybe they're not interested in that, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think they do now? Because
Indies. I don't think they're going to have too many options.
No, I mean, like, how did they parlay this into something marketable for the Indies if you were in their shoes?
I mean,
you wrestle 3-minute matches. That's all you do.
Well, that's a great gig if you can get it. If you're going to pay me the same amount to do a main event as you would a 3-minute tag match, I'm all for it. But I wouldn't imagine that the fact that Nixon Newell said I've got a year left. I mean, if you were a TNA, I'd be like, we have other people we're going to invest in. If you have a hard out in a year, and the fact is, and maybe this is not fair, but when you are the subject of a story like this, some promoters it is going to give you a pause about. Others they won't care. It'll all depend on the companies. But I mean, that was it. I didn't look at this as like some massive scandal on Saturday.
I didn't either.
It just seemed like one where it's like, this is not a fit for these two, and they're going to move on, and that's pretty much it. And I think
it's all the dirt sheets, John. Stop. Okay.
This was just there was no bad blood, nothing bad at all came out of this. So November on the Post Wrestling Cafe will include Rewind Away, looking at some of the biggest retirement matches in pro wrestling history with selections from All Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, and Stardom, among others. Plus, we'll have reviews of TNA Turning Point, UFC 322 from Madison Square Garden, and the Tanahashi Final Homecoming. John and Wai will be taking all of your questions on this month's installment of Ask Away, and John gets together with Brandon from New Jersey for a Season 4 retrospective of 90210. All that and so much more. Join now at postwrestlingcafe.com. $6 gets you in the door.